All right, all you positive heads. On this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have Maria Martinez here with me on the show. Maria is a human potential and wealth consciousness activator who accesses her intuitive gifts and connections to beings beyond the veil to assist humanity in its collective activation process. Super excited to have you here, Maria. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. This is so much fun and exciting. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And I just learned you're pretty close to me. So, we do events here. I have a co-living and event space where we do stuff regularly. So
Oh,
perhaps we can
awesome.
we can make something happen in person sometime soon. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, so let's start out with my cliche opening question. And my cliche opening question is this. You're in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You have 10 floors to answer. What do you say?
Awakening humanity. Awakening humanity to their full potential so that they can create their life.
Mm,
And my passions actually really started when I was 5. I've been
mm,
doing that, but I started at the soul level, retrieving soul fragments so that
mm.
the individual could own their free will and
Wow.
create the life of their dreams. So that's been my mission and my passion. It's evolved into other things, into wealth manifestation, because that's part of owning your power, owning your gifts, empowerment, and designing your life and
Yeah.
healing trauma so that you can be powerfully in your body.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. I've definitely had my own journey with abundance, and wrote a book on abundance, and um, it's been an interesting journey. I think you're right that it's like tapping into that piece of it. Even in my gene key, if you're familiar with gene keys, I have super abundance as one. But tapping into that part of ourselves is like it's a, it's a very spiritual thing, right?
It is.
And as as I say in my book, abundance is our birthright, the
Absolutely.
quintessence of our being. It's the essence of who we are. We're one with all the abundance in the entire universe, and we're so abundant and powerful we can actually cut ourselves off from that as well, right? And
Exactly.
so that's really the dance, and I'm excited to dive in with you and hear and learn from you, and see what you have up your sleeve to help people, and help me and help all of us on this, listen to this episode, to do more of that. What I would like to do, though, before we go too deep, is start with whatever, I love to get whatever backstory feels relevant to
Mhm.
share. Whatever you feel, you'd like to kind of let us know how you got to where you're at. You mentioned 5 years old. I'm curious about that. And yeah, please just share.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I remember at 6 years old, working with my angels and my guides,
Mm,
taking me into different dimensions, different dimensions, even lower dimensions, retrieving spirit fragments. Many times I didn't know who I was working for, meaning not for, who this work was for, because I didn't know the people.
mm,
It was sort of missions that I would go on with my guides, and I always had the knowing of what to do, but a lot of it came from them providing the tools, in whatever situation, because every situation was different, every realm was different, every dimension was different. So that was my early work, retrieving soul fragments. So a lot of the times I found spirits that had forgotten that they were infinite and were trapped in a different dimension. So we'd go in and wake them up and free the spirit and bring it back
wow.
to the individual. So that changed the individual's embodiment. They were now more embodied, more present, were able to connect more fully to their power of choice. And that's where they were able to design their life and make better choices for themselves. So that continued, and that eventually evolved to me communicating with other beings. I've worked with Mother Mary, I've worked with Jesus, all the archangels, but especially Michael. Michael has been like a constant being in my life. And then galactic beings like Arcturians and Pleiadians. And then those missions actually expanded from the individual to mass consciousness to Earth, going out, doing Earth missions. So it's been very interesting. So I love sort of my journey, that it's been the spirituality has been the foundation, and then that evolved into, well, how do I transfer that here and design my own life And that was actually part of my struggle as well, because when I learned or I realized not everybody's like me, and I shared this with my parents, and they knew I had these gifts, and they weren't surprised because I come from a lineage of shaman,
Mm,
and so but I didn't have anybody to train me at that time when I was 8 and 9 when I shared my different experiences with them. So they told me at that time, just don't tell anybody you can do this. Just, just keep it quiet. And
right.
mainly because they didn't know, they weren't trained and we didn't have anybody to train me. So
Yeah.
that continued. So I kind of shut that down a little bit, meaning that I wasn't living it in the real world, but it continued in the astral plane. And it wasn't until I went to college. Well, prior to that, actually, we did meet somebody that was a shaman. And about that age, I didn't train with her, but we began my initiation. I would
Mm,
come over and she would do different initiations on me and my brothers and sisters, sometimes other people. Most of them were adults. But I really wasn't aware of what was happening at the conscious level there. It just felt good and fun, and we were getting together. But when I was 18 and I went away to college, my dorm was like a central station. It's like portals opening at, especially from as soon as it got dark to like wee hours of the night, and
wow.
it was very disruptive. So I came home and I told my mom, I need to get a grip on this. I need to master this. It's just out of control. I don't really have any command. It just happens.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started working with our friend, who then I realized she knew who I was and had been working with me uh, in the initiations. And she became my first mentor. So, a beautiful friend, shaman. She became my first mentor at that age, and I started doing a lot of astral travel with her, but it was more on command. Like we would go.
Mm,
I started learning the tarot, so I worked with the tarot. That was the first sort of modality that she helped me, so I can harness and bring in the energy and read. And then that evolved into other things. And throughout this journey, it was kind of teetering back and forth between being the 3D and the 5D,
yeah.
uh, uh, going into corporate America. And that created a little bit of separation because I went into the masculine energy very, very much. I was very successful, but I lost a little bit of that connection with my intuition.
Mm,
And I really what it was, I wasn't paying attention. I was very focused on that,
yeah.
on achieving. But then as a result of that, other things happened, like my success. I left my company, and then after that, I noticed that I had detached from certain things. Money was one of them.
Mm,
I had detached from who I was, and I had trouble reconnecting. So that I experienced a lot of loss during that time. So that brought me back to who I am and doing my inner work and my shadow work and all of that to reconnect with who I'm meant to be here, my soul's mission, align my wills, and express myself, and agree to my mission with Earth and the cosmic, the universe. And that changed my life. So that's when I began to design my life. And that
mm,
was more than 10 years ago.
wow. Well, that's quite a journey. So you were at a very young age. I mean, you were having experiences of going with your guides and doing essentially like high level work. It sounds like.
Mhm.
Um, what did that look like for you? I mean, what was the experience? I'm just curious. What was the experience like? You're a child, so you don't have a lot of um, you don't have a lot of life experience to color whether or not this is normal or not. And so
Mhm.
I'm curious, was it a visual experience for you, like an out of body type of experience, and you would like come to these beings and have a conversation, but you're also a 5-year old, so I'm curious.
Yes.
Yeah, what I'd love to
Well,
just hear more about
I
that.
was I was also born with all my clairs open,
Okay.
so it was the conversations happened both in the astral plane. They happened in the wake state because I could see in my inner eye and my outer eye. So I
Mm,
was having conversations with them throughout the day,
hmm.
and with different beings. So I feel like there was a knowing, like I had a knowing that this was natural to me.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like I had a remembering of what I was doing in other lifetimes this type of work.
Mm.
So I feel like, so when I look back, I don't remember like questioning a whole lot of it. It was just, I just went with it. I just, wherever I was being guided, I felt that knowing, I felt their presence, and it felt very familiar. And
Hmm.
it felt like they were family, or they were comfortable, or I felt the support. Um, so I don't feel like I questioned a lot of that. I felt like I just went with it. And again, it was natural for me to see in my inner eye and outer eye. So again, I didn't question anything until I realized not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't question at that point, but then I realized, okay, so this is different. This is, what I'm doing is different than what everybody else knows, or may understand. Um, but the experience of being, with my guides, like I said, it felt very familiar. It felt actually comfortable. I don't really remember being afraid when I was that with them. Um, I do remember other times when dark beings would come in and they weren't there. I mean,
Hmm.
at that moment, but then immediately they would come in. So in that in between, I remember like just holding the space of they're going to be here any second. It's like,
Wow.
and then my guys would show up. Um, so yes, there was a little bit of fear, but it wasn't a fear of being alone. It was just a fear of like, okay, I don't know, they're just presented themselves. I don't know if I have the right tools right now. And this was, this was me at 5, like processing it at 5, 6, because this continued through my whole life. Um, I feel like I had, because of that remembrance, I had a level of trust, and especially in knowing that I wasn't alone,
Yeah.
knowing that I was sort of, I signed up for this and I signed up for it, and I somehow was prepared for it.
Yeah. Wow. Very interesting. And yeah, I'm curious. You said you had some past life memory things happening as well. So I'm always curious about like, okay, if you're doing work to help fragmented souls, right, and you're
Hmm.
coming in young and doing this sort of high level work, do you have any recollection of your connection with these beings? Beyond this lifetime. Like I'm assuming it's all karmic in some way,
Hmm.
shape, or form. That you of all people are the one being drawn you know,
Hmm.
to work with them and help them.
Yes. Are you referring to the people that I help, or are you referring to the beings that work with me?
Oh, well, I was referring to the people that you help, but actually the beans are interesting too. Obviously, it's all like, I'm always, for me, what's always fascinating is what is the level of connectivity and connection. And,
Mhm,
I look forward to the time when I can see all of that around,
mhm, mhm.
um, people, in my life or souls in my life.
Yeah. So to the first part of the question, the initial question, there was a connection. So some of them were part of my soul family, but
Hmm.
some of them were not part of my
Hmm.
soul family. But because that was my mission, my
Hmm.
guides would take me to them. Some of them, like I said, remember earlier I said I didn't know who they were.
Hmm.
So those were the ones that I didn't have any familiarity with them, and there were some that I did.
Yeah.
And I remember throughout as well, like healing an uncle, or healing a friend. And so the individuals that were part of my soul family, I they felt familiar, or going to somebody and they just feel familiar. I feel like this love, this connection to them. And so I could see that there was some connection there from another lifetime. um, and with my guides, yes, like I have memories of working with them, like being with them, sort of walking with them, being in battles with them, or holding space for them, or just holding the light with them, or teaching with them. So I do have different memories with my guides, from other lifetimes, and I feel
Mm.
like that's where the trust came from. That's where
Gotcha.
I felt like that this is familiar. We've done this together. I trust them. They're always going to be there. We signed up for this, or I signed up for this at the cosmic level. So whatever situation, and this is what I remember, whatever situation happens, it's because it's like I'm meant to be there, and they're meant to be there with me. So it's all going to be good.
Yeah. Right. Right. It's learning to have faith in the the process, trusting the
Yeah,
mystery of,
yeah.
I don't necessarily see all the connectivity and dots, but I trust that it's divinely orchestrated. Right.
Hmm. Yeah, I wanted to add one more thing to the part of the first question.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, and these are, and I feel like these are part of people that are meant to serve, and some of those are part of, your soul family. That sometimes I remember running into somebody for the first time, and I could see, like, in this is in the physical world, I could see, okay, this person has like a demonic attachment, or this person is not in
Mm.
their body, or this person has a lot of grief, and then that evening I'd see myself going there and either retrieving the spirit or clearing them from their attachment or healing their grief. And then the next time I saw them, they were a totally different person. So
Wow.
I'd had many of those where I interact with people. I'm like, okay, so I feel the agreement here. I
Wow.
feel that there's it's like they're either their soul is reaching out to me, their spirit is actually reaching out to me, or we've already agreed to do this.
Right. It's soul
Mm,
contract stuff.
yeah.
Do you still have that experience now? Or
Yes, I
you,
do.
interesting, interesting. So
Yeah.
when you're connecting with someone, do you instantly, are you always open to perceiving more about them, or is it something you kind of turn on and off at your will?
Um, so yes and no. So because people ask me this all the time. So I don't walk around open and just receiving information.
Yeah.
But my intention is not to just I have like, oh, I can do this, I'm going to do it. It's My intention is to help and be of service to others, and feel into their readiness. So if they're
Yeah.
asking for help, or if they're at some level, at the multidimensional level, whether it's they physically ask me or in this reality to ask me, or if I feel their emotional body or mental body or energetic body reaching out, then I help them.
Yeah.
But when I meet somebody, a lot of times it just happens. A
Yeah.
lot of times, just the information and a lot of times because that's what their intention is, that
Yeah.
they want to give that information.
Yeah. Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, fascinating stuff. Let's get back to what we touched on earlier, which is how abundance plays into this,
Hmm.
and how we can. I'm always curious to hear, different perspectives and thoughts and feelings on, you know, for many people tuning into this broadcast, that's something that they're probably still working on, and we all have our sort of dance with tapping into our fullest potential. And I'm a believer that someone, a man, a woman must be what they can be in order to
Hmm.
be fulfilled. And I think abundance goes along with that too.
Hmm.
So, yeah, just what are your thoughts on how if someone is feeling, let's say, stuck, or they haven't reached that full potential?
Hmm.
What is your recommendation for them?
Yeah. So you mentioned something about feeling fulfilled, and actually that's where, when I'm working with somebody, we talk about that. What Because we all have our idea of what wealth is for us, or what wealth looks like for us. We all have our idea of what fulfillment is, whether it's like being in a happy relationship, family, all of that, or a lot of achievement, amassing a lot of wealth. So I want to understand what that is for that person, and then we start working with that. We start working with their highest potential.
Hmm.
So instead of trying to get there, we quantum leap into that timeline where everything already exists, and we
Mm.
start working from there. Um, Earlier we were talking about this is our divine right, right? Fortune and wealth and
Hmm.
abundance is actually who we are. We
Yep.
were created from abundance, but at some point we separated from that. At some point we lost that connection, and we started in the thriving, went into the surviving. And a lot of it had to do with other powers, right? Suppression, domination, control. So this is where the empowerment comes in as well, and choosing to design our life and embodying our will, and also leaning into giving to ourselves and being source for ourselves. So when somebody is either they're struggling, or they say I've tried so many things, or they're just having a lot of, like, it comes in and goes out. I look at different things. I look at the patterns that they have. I look at their ability to embody wealth. And I look at that the main belief of I am abundance. The abundance is the source of who I am, because there's a particle, a light particle within us. It's the God source. It's the God spark within us that is abundance. And when we don't recognize it, and when we don't know that, and we're still looking for outside. So we're still in the struggle. So we create kind of this energy or this other timeline that we're on, and it kind of feels like a rat race. So
Mm.
we want to come back to everything that I desire to be, I am already. Everything that I wish for is already within me. And
Yeah.
I know that we've heard that many times, but it's the frequency and it's the decision and it's the embodiment of all of that that gets us back into that alignment. And from
Right.
that alignment, we start releasing the limitations, the agreements that we have. And this is with ourselves, right? It's not necessarily with other people or with humanity. It's, how are you living? Are you living by your own standards? Are you living by the standards of others? So we begin to carve out our life. We begin to architect our life. We begin to design who we are. So I look for contracts of poverty. I look for blocks around money. I look for money stories that they're living. I
Mm.
look for their ability to hold their worth, their value, their deservingness, their ability to receive. I look for their relationship with money. So, what is the emotion connected to it? Also, the relationship with abundance, prosperity, and wealth. And then the fears around that.
Mm.
The fears and their ability to hold their own power,
Mm.
to re-embody or incarnate their power.
Wow.
So all of the different things, and of course, I look beyond that. I look at ancestral contracts, um, any multidimensional timeline, um, dimension, planes of existence, contracts, oath agreements, vows, promises, and judgments against them, uh, oath and blood pacts that they might
Wow.
have agreed to, and then
Wow.
we uncreate all of that. So again, this is the spiritual. This is what's connected to the spirit. So I work at the multidimensional level.
Mm.
So we free the spirit, we bring back the spirit, and we awaken the spirit to I am. I am creation itself. I am totality, and I am abundance and wealth. And we begin to activate that frequency of wealth and abundance within the individual at the spiritual level. Then we work at the soul level, then we work at the emotional, mental, and physical level. We also look at the physical level to see if there's any trauma in the physical body related to money, especially in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So the inner child may have experienced, my parents had divorced and we experienced a lot of trouble with money. Or one of my family members had a lot of money and they used it as a form of control.
Mm.
Or we just had a lot of illness in our family, so we didn't have because all our money went to that. So we look for different levels of trauma and I actually look for it at the multidimensional level, but a lot of times it's stuck in the physical level.
Mm-hmm.
I also look at when they're holding money, are they able to hold it? Because sometimes we can bring it in, but we have guilt about others not having it, especially if our family suffered. We're like, okay, I have to, like, I have to honor them, or I have to do the same. But it's unconscious. All of this is unconscious. So we work through all these different levels, and then we move into the mastery of who we are. And the mastery is, well, what do you want? So now we clear all of this. There's sort of a blank space, and we begin to fill that space with the new reality. We begin to fill that space with the new beingness. So this is also about upgrading your vibration, upgrading your identity, upgrading your perception and perspective of what you're seeing and how you're processing information. So we also look at what is the language that you're using and how do you react to different situations. So if you're speaking from lack, like I don't have time, I don't have resources, um, I don't have the energy, so all of that is lack. Or how do you react to situations if something happens and you immediately contract instead of what is the solution, or what is the, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
So we want to, that's the mastery that we work toward, so that you again become the master of your destiny.
Mm.
You embody all of your potential. You access your divine fortune within you. And then once you're there, then we move into actualizing everything. Now, it sounds like a big process, but it's really not. It happens
Mm.
very quickly.
Mm.
But the goal is, because once you say yes to yourself, something begins to click. It's almost
Yeah.
like you're calling back all parts of you, and then that begins to click. And
Yeah.
then you start the forward movement, and then you working with the laws of the universe, relying on the universe as your divine partner, having that trust, and allowing the universe to orchestrate for you, like saying it and then allowing it to become.
Yeah.
There's so many different little things that come into this. Like one of the other things is that I like to do and I like to teach is giving money a purpose. So, uh, sometimes people say, I want $1 million. But they're just saying, I want $1 million. I want $1 million. Okay, so what are you going to do with that $1 million?
Yeah.
Give it a purpose, a house, pay off my debt, give to charity, or set up a foundation. So give it a purpose and give it a specific amount. And then trust the process as well as you're doing your inner work, as you're doing your inner healing, and you're working with the laws of the universe, with the cosmic universe. You're trusting that you're doing your part and the universe is doing the rest of it. And that all aligns. So as an example, I was just talking to one of my clients yesterday, and she had a medical issue that she had to take care of, and she wasn't able to work for quite some time. And in between, I was working her to heal her body. And one of her concerns was, and her worry was, what about the money? Like, I'm not working, I
Yeah.
need to pay. And so we did some of these processes, and I said, first of all, state it, declare it, how much you need. Keep loving yourself, healing yourself back so that you can be of service again, because that's what she was doing in the past. And just allow the universe to do that. You have to trust
Right.
that this is already yours. Trust
Yeah.
that you can give this to yourself, that you can take the time to heal. Trust that because you do good in the world, you're a good person, you're a good steward of your gifts, you're a good steward of money. Money's always going to be available to you. And so that was about a week ago. And then yesterday she said, remember I told you I needed this amount of money? And I said, yes. And she said, well, I just got it.
Wow.
It just came into my account. I
Wow.
said, it happens. I said, it's, yes, trust the process, trust yourself, trust the universe. Do what you need to do because you're raising your vibration when you're doing your inner work. So you're moving into that frequency where everything already exists for you.
Right. Right.
And the magic, it's miraculous.
Yeah. It's a really inspiring thing to realize, and you know to understand. It's just like it's like turning on the faucet, right?
Mhm.
What do you got to do to turn on the faucet? You're it's already there and it's sitting there, and are you going to turn the knob, and really by aligning and becoming connected with it? And it's there's so many things that help, that sort of work against us, in society or in our culture, or our stories that we tell. I mean, I know I've had my own very interesting dance with abundance, or, lack thereof at times. And it's been like this, oh, from my friend's couch to an Inc. fastest growing private company. Here's a $30 million buyout. Oh, never mind. That disintegrates moments
Mhm.
before you get it. And, it's just been like, a lot of back and forth with me personally. And I know a lot of people experience that on different levels, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it's also true, like, you can attract $10 the same way you can 10 million.
Mhm.
It's all just
Absolutely.
energy. And it's a big part of all of our
Yeah,
journeys.
absolutely. And you're right. Money is energy, and so that's why I look at what is your relationship with that energy of money. But I also look at the energy of abundance, prosperity, and wealth. And a lot of times it gives me an image of how that person perceives that, whether it's hard or heavy, or like a dry desert, nothing is there, or there's a lot of grief connected to that. And so we work through all of that. And you also mentioned that this happens at different levels. I've worked with people that are multi millionaires, and they're worried about money, or their concern is like, I just made this big project happen, but now it feels like there's a lot of complications with it. So we look at, well, what's happening within you, that what's the fear that is coming up. So we are the creators of, and we are the magnet to everything that we're attracting. So whenever we're having challenges with money, we first want to look at, well, what's going on in here? Yeah,
Right.
sometimes there are interferences outside, like other spiritual interferences or other people projecting into our field. But ultimately, if we're good, if we're aligned and we're in harmony with ourselves, not it doesn't really affect us. Whatever's going on in our environment, even in the economy, doesn't really affect us. So I've also worked with people that in their industry things are not going very well, but because we change their vibration and we change their mindset and we move into a more powerful mindset that is very abundant, and so they elevate above everything that is going on, and they sort of are kind of in their own little world. Like, so what it is moving into a different timeline, separate than where mass consciousness is or the people in that
Mm-hmm.
industry. So that's all possible. All of this is all possible that we can change regardless of what's going on around us. We can change how money interacts with us. We can change how money comes in. We can change how we hold the energy of money and how much of it. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I love you said the word impossible is also, if you separate it out, it's I'm possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right.
Henry Ford said it really well: whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such a big part of it, is like, or another quote I love, and I forget where this one originates, but it's always stuck with me: when you come holding your bag of sugar to be filled, it will be examined to see how large it is.
Ah,
Like, what do you expect is possible, right,
right.
for you? And I think that is, it's everything. And it can be a lifelong dance, or it's something that could change in a moment, right?
That's
Getting
right.
there.
Yeah.
And I think your process sounds very thorough and very interesting. And I'm curious. Excuse me. One of the things we talked about at the top of this episode was, of course, you tap in intuitively and multidimensionally, and can help read people and give them insights into their journey, or how, as it pertains to abundance or whatever comes up for you. And it's something that you said you would be willing to do, sort of with me, as
Yeah.
on the show here, which I always find, of course, fun and interesting, and I think the audience does too. So, yeah, I'm curious if now would be a good time to do that. And also, what does that process look like for you? Do you, um, yeah, just I guess we'll see. So,
Yeah, so absolutely. I like to work with people, especially if they have a goal that they're
mhm.
trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's intelligence that comes through me. So when I channel or when I read somebody, I'm
Hmm.
tapping into the intelligence that you're tapped into. So that's where I'm getting the information,
Yeah.
and I can see what your desire is, but it's what's more important for me to see is why you don't have that
Hmm.
desire yet. And that's what we you look at. Well, what's that in between, so
Mm.
that we can get to that place. So yeah, happy to work with you, read for you. What do you have a desire? Do you have a goal?
Let's see here. Well, do I have a desire or goal? One. Hmm. One of the things, yeah, I guess the short answer. You want the short answer or some backstory on it, or just
We'll do the short answer.
the short answer? The short answer is, my desire or goal is to connect to my highest potential and timeline.
Mhm.
Um, and that's something that I think, yeah, that's my short answer.
Okay, all right. So when you said that, I felt a blockage in your third area, and I
Hmm.
felt a disconnect. So I felt you kind of trying to reach for the higher potential, but then I saw the mental body and emotion body coming in and saying, I don't quite believe that. And part of it, and that happens to a lot of us when we've been sort of in this like hustling and trying different things, and we see a little bit of success, but it's not quite the success that we want to see, and then it
Yep.
becomes a bit exhausting. So
Yep.
that's where it is. So yeah, so I'm happy to clear it as well for you, if you like.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so
That's all accurate too, by the way.
so what I'm going to ask you to do is to take a deep breath, so you can relax your body and relax your mind. Yeah, so it's actually already coming out from, like, there's a lot coming out of your throat, and it kind of looks like an entity, by the way. It's just this energy coming out of your throat that was stuck there. And when I look down, so I'm looking down at your body. So I'm looking at your multidimensional bodies all at once, and I can see an energy going down your spine as well. And that feels really dark and heavy in terms of the emotions, got a lot of grief connected to that, a lot of sadness. And this feels like it's pushing down, like trying to hold you down from connecting to your higher self. So go ahead and take a deep breath and just allow that energy to be released from the throat area. The other thing that we want to do is, as we're coming inward, we want to connect with the light within. So take a deep breath and then come inward, turn your awareness inward. So first we're going to come into the center of the head because we want to connect to the authority within you. So take a deep breath, and as you're turning your awareness inward, come into the center of the head. So I hear a lot of messages here, a lot of sort of statements. They sound kind of like jargled, like a lot of no's or a lot of holding back or a lot of we can't do that. So this is I'm reading the unconscious mind and some of the frequency of other past experiences. Go ahead and take one more deep breath. So find your way to the center and notice the light in the center. And as you come to the light, go ahead and go under the light. So you're going to stand under the light and just be there for a moment. Just feel the stillness of the light. We're going to calm the rest of your body. There's a lot of nervous energy moving through your body. So just keep breathing. Continue to breathe. Yeah, there's a lot of release from your chest right now. I also feel grief, so sadness, grief, unexpressed loss. Okay, one more deep breath. And as you're here, we are going to connect you to your higher self. But I also want to call in the energy of abundance and prosperity. Then look at that frequency around you. So when I call in the frequency of money, it's like a ball. So if you can imagine a ball that bounces off of you. So we don't want it to bounce off of you. We actually want it to be very fluid, like light. So the frequency that connects to you and becomes part of you. There's here with the energy of money, there's self-sabotage and self-punishment. So there's a part of you that doesn't believe that you deserve this. So go ahead and take one more deep breath. And that energy is the part of you that doesn't believe that you deserve this is in your heart. And then it goes down into your power center. Okay, we're just going to continue to breathe and we're going to release all of that energy. Yeah, I feel the energy from your spine. It was pulling down, so now it's loosening up. It feels more like a sort of like a smoky substance versus like a dense, heavy kind of sand. So now it's becoming very light and it's moving up your spine. So we want to release it all the way up and out. One more deep breath. I can feel your body relaxing. I still see a little bit it's stuck in the throat area. So go ahead and to yourself, go ahead and state your desire, but state it in I am. Go ahead and take one more deep breath. Like I am successful, I am wealthy, I am aligned, I am connected to my higher self. I am my higher self.
I am aligned to my highest timeline. My higher self is fully activated within me, and
Okay.
I am living my best life.
Yeah. So I see your crown opening up. Okay. Go ahead and take a deep breath, and we're going to allow that extension from your crown all the way up to source, God, universe. Okay, go ahead and take one more deep breath. Now, with your eyes closed, standing in the center of the light, go ahead and look up and just see what you see. Perceive what you see. Notice what you see. And just go ahead and be in that for a moment. This is your connection. This is you being in community. This is you realizing, I do have this connection. It's there. Okay, go ahead and take a deep breath. We're going to continue to work with the rest of your body and your multidimensional bodies. All right. So there's another entity that is coming out. So you had some interferences, some walk-ins, some occupants in your body, other spiritual attachments. Go ahead and take one deep breath. We're going to just release all of that from your field. Okay, so the other thing I noticed is that your spirit is not quite there. So there's a fragment of your spirit stuck somewhere else. So we're going to go ahead and retrieve it. It has a lot of binds, like there's like a strap that goes around and then another strap. Now your spirit is essence, but when you separate, you kind of lowered into the density, and then it feels more like a physical body, or it doesn't realize that it's essence, and it kind of acts more like a physical body. So we're going to awaken this part of your spirit to its true infinite power. One more deep breath. Okay. And then we're going to retrieve it, ask it to come back. Go ahead and take a deep breath. So there's a little more to go in your body, so we're just going to accelerate that. One more deep breath. One more deep breath. And one more deep breath. Anaya kurua keshiriniki ik amana yetia kuruma una yetia koshturu kukiti e shayanaya uk ayarata shtaranaya ukaramaya yete keya. Shini autukuma shurukukuti tikitia maunaya uk ashtarana. Shiwarato mik ak ashtarakashanaya usheya. Okay, go ahead and take one more deep breath. There it goes. The spirit is back. There's also an opening of your lower chakra. So the densities that were there, the energies that are there are now out. So we're filling your whole body with the beautiful divine essence of your spirit. Now go ahead and take one more deep breath and hold it for four counts. And then slowly release for 4 counts. I can feel the nervous center, nervous system a little bit resistant, like it doesn't know what to do. So we're gonna help it relax, and letting it know that everything is perfect, everything is in divine order. There it goes. And one more deep breath. So I'm just going to take a look at the energy of money and abundance now. See how that's, yep. Okay, so now, that image that I saw of the ball bouncing off of you, it actually came back toward you, but now it came into your field. Okay, and now let's look at the energy of abundance. Yeah, so the energy of abundance is have this light, like this, almost like a spotlight on top of you. So go ahead and just receive that. Now from the center of the head, we're going to go ahead and amplify that light all the way through. So it's coming in through your throat, heart, power center, sacral area, root, and all the way. We're going to connect that to Mother Earth, and we're going to go ahead and expand that light throughout your whole body. And go ahead and declare. So I didn't mention them out loud, but I was clearing some of your contracts. So go ahead and recreate another contract. This is the highest contract, the highest possibility. So yes, Mother Earth, I'm here. Yes, Cosmic Universe, I'm here. I agree to be in the best version of myself, or highest version of myself, to live in this beautiful alignment of who I am and fully express myself and my mission, share my gifts with the world, and live a wealthy life. Whatever that is for you, go ahead. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How do you feel?
Yeah, I've had a lot of different activations and things on the show over almost a decade, and that was the most intense.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely felt a lot of energy moving, and I felt everything that you said as truth and in my body, and sensations and things, which a lot of times I feel, you know, I don't necessarily feel the impact of things per se, or there's a part of me that's like, yeah, not fully feeling it or buying it, or, so whatever. Maybe it's blockage, maybe it's, you
Mhm,
know, whatever. But in this instance, it feels very powerful and very true and very shifted. So
mhm.
thank you so much for taking the
You're
time
welcome.
to do that with
Absolutely.
me. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's always a reason why we connect with each other.
Apparently, it's definitely divinely timed, and
Mhm,
it's been a yeah. The last few months have been some of the most challenging in my life. With going through a breakup and just a lot of yeah, just a lot of things falling away.
mhm,
That and challenge and things that so and I've trusted and known like okay, that's the breakdowns before the breakthrough, and I feel
absolutely.
like this is um, this is a big step to the breakthrough. So thank you
Hmm.
for
Yeah, absolutely.
being a part of it.
Your aura looks a lot brighter.
Yeah.
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 And you're right about, when we go through things, and this is what I say to everybody, when there's a challenge in front of you or a perceived challenge, celebrate it because it is the breakthrough.
Yeah.
When you just say, okay, one step at a time, I'm going through it, that's the breakthrough. That's the quantum leap.
Yeah.
So have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the sealing it with signing the highest potential contract.
Mhm.
And I feel that. And so for you, I mean, it's really fascinating to hear you talk through it. And so you're like perceiving clairvoyantly.
Mhm.
Is it, you said all the clairs now, are you also receiving other like clair audience or?
Yes. So I see, I hear, I feel, I know. Um, Sometimes I could smell or taste.
Mm,
Those are not always, I would say, I could smell when the beings come in, especially they have flowers. So a lot of times, like Mother Mary has this beautiful flowery scent,
mm-hmm.
or some of the goddesses will come in and they have this flowery scent, or some of my guides, sometimes like shamanic guides, they that have the tobacco smell.
Mm,
Some of the scents will come in on occasion, not necessarily when I'm working with somebody. It's usually when I'm with my guides.
yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, very, very cool. Well, as we sort of start winding down here, this feels, definitely feels like a wonderful gift to me to experience, and I'm sure other people will want to reach out and things like that. But before we get to how to connect with you and everything, I would like to have a little bit of story time with you. I
Mhm.
love to hear stories of synchronicity, serendipity, positive paranormal stories, that kind of thing. And so I'm curious if you have anything, fun up your sleeve to share.
Synchronicities. Well,
It can be serendipity, positive paranormal, any inspiring story
yeah,
really that
yeah,
has a
yeah.
little magic to it.
Let's see. Well, I like this story, and I'm not sure if it fits into this category, but so when I was in my 20s, this is when I wasn't doing my work yet. Um, I was really attracted to this. So it's a prayer. And I just, it made me feel really good to say it. And I wasn't really sure, like, what its true purpose of it was until I later asked my mom. Um, so I used to say this prayer often and often and often. Again, I was really attracted to it. And then one evening, I was woken up. I heard the sound of a little girl, and her sound was like, shh, shh, shh. And I sat up in my bed. I'm like, what's going on? And I saw this little girl standing at the edge of my bed, and and it felt again, it wasn't scary or anything. It just felt like okay. Um, so I just didn't think much of it, and I laid back down, and then I felt her laying down with me, and I felt her little arm like holding me, and I was like, okay, that's never happened before, but okay.
Right.
Yeah, I've had like my guides, when they've touched my arm, especially the angels, I'll see like a handprint. It doesn't hurt or anything. It's just I can see it, and it's a very big one. But I could feel. So that's the only time I've felt somebody touching me, and this was the second time I felt somebody touching me. And I just again like, just kind of looked over, and then I sat up again. I even pulled the blankets to cover her, and they're like, well, what is she doing here? So I asked her, what are you doing here? And she said, well, you know that prayer that you pray? And I said, yes. She said, well, you liberated us. And I looked
Wow.
over, and from my bathroom door, that was a portal. And I could see all these other souls coming out from, and they were just walking around. And some of them I could see that what their suffering was. And she said, because you pray this prayer so much, you've liberated us, and now we can be free. So we came to thank you. So that was the best story I have. Yeah. I'm not sure if you're frozen. Brandon, are you there? Did you hear me?
Oh yeah, it kind of glitched there for a minute, but yeah, I heard I basically stopped at because you prayed this prayer for me, and then
You liberated us.
wow,
So now we're free. We can ascend. And
wow,
it was like my whole room was filled, and there were more and more coming out, and they were different ages too, and I could see what their suffering had been.
wow,
Especially sometimes when we pass and we feel like we have to pay the price or we did something
yeah,
wrong, and we're trying to sort of make amends for that. And that was all these souls that didn't realize that they could just forgive themselves, or they could connect to the light and move on. So
yeah,
that's my best sort of spiritual story that I have,
wow,
connecting to with the other side. Um,
amazing.
yeah, and then the other story that I have, which is it's some people they're like, oh, interesting, and you agree to that. So when I met my, he's my ex husband now.
Hmm.
When I met him, it was like he's in the martial arts, and I
Hmm.
wanted to take martial arts, so I went in to do sort of a trial. And as soon as he walked out to greet me, I felt this sort of memory of
Mm,
who he was. I'm like, and I said to myself, I'm marrying this person.
yeah,
I'm having twins. I'm going to have
wow,
a third child, and then we're going to get divorced.
wow,
And
wow,
later I told him, and he thought I was kidding, but it was exactly that. I have twins, boy and girl. I have another daughter, and then shortly after that we divorced. We're still friends,
wow,
um, but it was just that information coming in. It was so clear. I saw just many different lifetimes, and I saw the contracts that we had to bring in our children, and yeah. So this and then I've had many other stories of people manifesting. Like we work one day, and we worked on like the story I shared, and then the next day, yeah, the next couple of days, beautiful, powerful things happen because they trusted, they leaned into it, and they allowed the universe to support them.
wow,
And I especially have a lot of stories of like government. A lot of times we think the government doesn't work with us, like people getting more money than they expected from the IRS,
hmm,
people having some other issue, and all of a sudden it's resolved. They get a letter and say, yes, it's in your favor, or legal issues, or money that has been lost, that they thought they would never get back, communication about that the money is now available. So just a lot of stories like that.
yeah,
I'm not sure if I fit it together.
yeah, no,
There's
yeah, that's all super relevant and perfectly aligned with what it's I I think it's fascinating to hear how many it's so easy to focus on all the challenges and things, but yet there's this magic that's happening all the time, and miracles, like I think it was Wayne Dyer said, I'm realistic, I expect miracles. And so I think hearing these sorts of things really helps all of us to tap into, like, hey, remember, the miraculous is right there waiting for you to give it its due, and believe, and be realistic and expect
Mm,
miracles, right?
absolutely. I tell my kids, um, when they say that's impossible, like no, it's just right at this moment it's not yet possible. So we get to find the possibility in this.
I'm possible. Just
I'm
break up
possible.
the M and the P.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this has been amazing. Maria, I've thoroughly enjoyed connecting with you, and like I said,
Thank
very
you. Same
grateful
here.
for the experience that I got to share here with you. It feels profound and powerful. What is the best way for people to connect with you and follow your work, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, thank you. You can connect with me at 360 Prosperity. If you have questions, you can go into the contact page. I also have a discovery call there that you can access. If you have questions, not sure which direction to go. So 360prosperity.com, or you can also find me on Facebook as Maria Martinez or 360 Prosperity. The same on Instagram at 360 Prosperity, TikTok Maria Martinez, 360 Prosperity. The same thing on LinkedIn. I also have a YouTube channel, Maria Martinez 360 Prosperity. Love to connect with you and see how I can be of service to you.
Amazing. Well, I do have one final question for you,
Mhm.
and it is my cliche closer, and it is this: in 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to Maria Martinez?
For me, is living in joy, doing good in the world, and elevating. So there's a saying that I hear often is living behind a legacy, living leave the world better than you found it. So that for
Hmm.
me is living. It's just living with joy and just being yourself and living in the full expression of who you are, having fun as you do it, and sharing that fun with others,
Hmm.
sharing that joy with others.
Amazing. Amazing. Well said. Thank you, Maria, so much for taking the time to do this. And yeah, thank all of you out there for tuning in your beautiful brainwaves and incredible hearts into another episode. Until next time, journey well.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Brenda.